Welcome back to Cityscape. In this episode of Secret People, we will cover Huey P. Newton, an American social rights activist known for starting the Black Panthers. In a recent study conducted by Monster, 83% of Gen Z individuals stated that an employer's commitment to diversity is a significant element when choosing where to work. Inclusion has become the status quo, and while many young people today still feel like we have a long way to go, they fail to appreciate how far we've truly come as a country. So to give my millennials and Gen Zs a reminder, allow me to run you through some statistics. Blacks were not allowed to vote until March 1867, less than 200 years ago. Black men couldn't become military officers until 1948. Segregation did not end in the US until 1954. Harvard did not start accepting black students until 1959. Interracial marriage was not allowed until 1967, less than 60 years ago. So all you mixed couples out there should consider yourselves lucky. The Mormon Church did not allow black men from being ordained until 1978. That was right around the corner. Lastly, we did not have a black president until 2009. A great victory indeed. Contrary to popular assumption, all this progress does not just happen through the passage of time. It took sacrifices from men and women willing to risk it all for a better future to their lineage. While we're all familiar with MLK or Malcolm X, few people are acutely aware of our guest in this episode, a man of equal stature when it comes to sacrifices he made for the betterment of blacks. In fact, some people claim Huey P. Newton should have his own holiday, similar to Martin Luther King. Is this pompous overglorification, or is our guest worthy of such national remembrance? As always, let's start with a brief background. Huey Percy Newton was born on February 17, 1942, in Monroe, Louisiana. Monroe is located in Louisiana's Ouachita Parish, which has a history of violence against blacks since the days of Reconstruction. Black people were often found lynched or violently beaten to death. As a response to the hate and hostility, the Newton family migrated to Oakland, California, where Huey attended Oakland Technical High School. As a teenager, he was often arrested for criminal offenses, including gun possession and vandalism. Growing up in Oakland, Newton stated that he was made to feel ashamed of being black. Anyway, Newton attended Merritt College in Oakland and became involved in Bay Area politics. While at the school, he met Bobby Seale, a man that shared many of his political ideologies. Together, the two founded the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Seale became chairman, and Newton became Minister of Defense. Little did they know, this organization was going to send shockwaves throughout the country. To understand the reason why Huey started the Black Panthers, we need to look at some historical subtleties to understand the context. Not too long ago in America, there was an unwritten agreement by the police that one of their jobs was to keep blacks out of white areas. A black man caught walking in a white neighborhood would be rigorously questioned, harassed, arrested, and even beaten. This made the life of blacks extremely restrictive, as you can imagine. What's worse, the police would not only limit blacks to their own neighborhoods, but they would often patrol it, like platoons do during a convoy in enemy territory. This is where the band of brothers mentality emerged within the police. Similar to how the army often forgives soldiers who commit war crimes, as long as it's done in enemy territory, any cop who gets caught violating blacks would be defended and protected by fellow policemen. After all, he was operating on foreign soil, dirty black neighborhoods. A cop who committed a horrible crime against a black person would get a slap on the wrist, like paid leave or temporary suspension. This reality is precisely the reason why Derek Chauvin assumed he could put a knee on a black man for 8 minutes and get away with it. But thankfully, he was wrong. Anyway, this get out of jail for free card on prosecution against black violence is exactly why Huey P. Newton started the Black Panthers. Here is an interview where he personally explains the situation.
America, black people are treated very much as the Vietnamese people or any other colonized people, because we're brutalized. The police in our community occupy our area, our community, as a foreign troop occupies territory. And the police are there not to, in our community, not to promote our welfare or for our security and our safety, but they're there to contain us, to brutalize us and murder us, because they have their orders to do so. And just as the soldiers in Vietnam have their orders to destroy the Vietnamese people. The police in our community couldn't possibly be there to protect our property, because we own no property. They couldn't possibly be there to see that we receive the due process of law, for the simple reason that the police themselves deny us the due process of law. And so it's very apparent that the police are only in our community, not for our security, but the security of the business owners in the community, and also to see that the status quo is kept intact.
It's funny how Huey remarked that black people are treated like Vietnamese guerrillas overseas. I had made a video on August Vollmer where I showed he used military tactics from his army experience to modernize the police force. I'll post a link at the end of the video for those of you who are interested. Anyway, Huey and Bobby Seale went on an aggressive recruitment campaign to grow the Black Panthers. Their recruitment techniques were interesting to say the least. Huey would recruit at bars, clubs, and street hangouts where he knew he could find tough, but often misdirected young men. He would engage them in political discussions and persuade them to channel that aggression towards keeping their community safe against the police, rather than shooting each other. Another super cool tactic Huey used for recruiting new Black Panthers is what he coined as pig patrols. Pig patrol is a situation where members of the Black Panthers would arm up, patrol their neighborhood, and if they see a police arresting a black man, they would get out their cars with arms. When questioned by the police, they would respond that they're just witnesses making sure the arrest doesn't get out of hand. They would then follow the cops who made the arrest to the precinct and bail out the recently arrested individual. 9 times out of 10, the recently bailed out individual would join the Black Panthers right then and there. Here's a clip of Huey speaking of a pig patrol.
When we first started, we had a police alert patrol, and we would patrol the community. If we saw the police brutalize anyone, we would put an end to this. Usually the police wouldn't brutalize anyone if we were on hand, because we were armed, and if the police arrested the individual, we would follow him to the jail and bail the individual out, whether he was a Panther or not. And we would gain many recruits like this, so therefore the community started to say that, well, these people are really concerned about our welfare.
As expected, the number of Black Panthers grew. The group then used that influence to sell books and publish their own newspapers. This newspaper was simply called the Black Panther. It was sold across several large cities in the United States and even had international readership. This influence eventually led to Huey P. Newton receiving an invitation to visit the People's Republic in China, which he did in 1971. Anyway, Newton and the Black Panthers also started a number of social programs in Oakland. They founded the Oakland Community School, which provided a high-quality education to children in impoverished neighborhoods. They also created a free breakfast program for children and provided healthcare services to blacks who had little access to medical care. The community policing done by the Black Panthers had an interesting effect. Police brutality went way down. Turns out policemen are scared of abusing black men if a bunch of witnesses are standing by with guns. Who would have thought? The story of the Black Panthers itself is a long one, and we don't have the time to cover it in a Secret People episode. But long story short, the FBI declared the Black Panthers a communist organization in 1969. Through a series of surveillance, planned assassinations, fueling of rivalries between other black nationalist groups, the Black Panther Party eventually met its demise in 1982. The operation to take down the Black Panthers is formally known as the COINTELPRO files. COINTELPRO is short for Counterintelligence Program. These files were leaked in the 70s, so those of you who want to learn more can do research on the subject. As for Huey, he ended up disbanding from the Black Panthers due to embezzlement charges that were eventually dropped 6 years later. He was later arrested for the fatal shooting of police officer John Frey, but there was insufficient proof for a conviction, and these charges were also dropped. However, on August 22, 1989, Huey was shot and murdered by a member of a rival gang known as the Black Guerrilla Family. He was 47 years old.
I was one of the original members of Huey's defense team when he was first charged with the murder of Officer Fry and the assault on Officer Haynes. I have many comments to make, and I'm not going to be able to make them all.
Yes, sir.
But I would like to make them in order of importance. We are celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday today. I think that we should be, at some point, considering making Huey P. Newton's birthday a national holiday.
Oh, you flatter me.
When I first came to the Bay Area from Chicago, I was appalled at the way the police were oppressing black people in the ghetto. And the only man who had the guts to stand up was Huey P. Newton, along with his associate Bobby Seale. I was very proud of his actions. I thought that Martin Luther King taught us how to pray and how to arouse the conscience of our oppressor. And I thought that Huey P. Newton taught us how to stand up to our oppressor. And for that, I think he should be accorded a national holiday.
Okay, thank you, Carlton.
Yes.
You did a nice job with that.
Thank you.
Bravada. Hi, I grew up in San Francisco in the Hunters Point Naval Projects, and I could remember being about 6 or 7, and we had an area for the Black Panthers up in Hunters Point, and I felt so protected that they were there. I felt that I could go outside, and everything was beauty. The black people were together in Hunters Point, and when we had that big riot on 3rd Street, everybody began stealing from each other. Not at that point, but it's just like we lost our togetherness. We lost it.
Now that you look back over the entire Black Panther movement,
Speaking of Huey P. Newton, one place you can check out is the Black Panther Museum in Oakland, California. The museum is 1,000 square feet and is right across the site where Black Panther co-founder Huey Newton was murdered. The mural is free to visit, of course, but museum visits are by appointment only. Those of you who want to visit the Black Panther Museum should save this location on a Cityscape app. While Martin Luther King taught us how to negotiate with words, Huey P. Newton taught us how to stand up and fight against those who oppress us. The community school and breakfast program he pioneered also showed that his concern was not just defense, but nurturing and caring for the community. The courage and fortitude of Huey P. Newton is beyond comprehensible. The police are well armed and have a legal monopoly on violence. Yet this man still put himself on the line, despite the incredibly negative odds. It is unfortunate that Huey was a communist, as was Martin Luther King. But in a crony capitalist system we live today, can one really blame them for thinking the other side is better? In 2022 America, it is fair to say that we are all economically oppressed people. While the issues we face today are becoming less black and white, I think we can still apply the lessons Huey P. Newton taught us. That is, don't wait for authorities to fix things. Take matters into your own hands. The leaders of tomorrow will be those that can found and maintain a community. See you next time. What's going on, guys? I hope you enjoyed the Huey P. Newton episode. I have an announcement to make, so that's why I'm here. I wanted to share with you the fact that I don't really have the bandwidth to continue making Secret People episodes. As you guys know, I'm coding the Cityscape app alone, and I'm doing all the video production and all the voiceover, all the writing for the scripts. I'm doing everything by myself, guys, and there's only so much one person could do. And I feel like Cityscape as an application is also growing, so I want to give more energy to that. So the news is I'm going to stop Secret People as a series for now. I'm not going to continue Secret People until I can hire someone to do the video production for me. I'm still going to do the voiceover, but someone else will do the production. And speaking of someone else doing the production, you have to pay someone to do that. And, that needs money, you need capital. So I was going to basically make the request from my audience that if you or someone who's an investor who's interested in financing a startup, well, Cityscape's a startup, and I'm a single man founder. I know some investors don't like that, some do, but some don't. But yeah, that would be really useful. I have a product, as you guys know. I have a community, you guys, the Scout community, as you see on my hat. I just need extra help. So if anyone wants to help, meaning they're an investor or they know someone who's an investor, I'd love to talk. You could send me an email at james@cityscape.com. I'll leave the email in the description. And that's all I have to say. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
When I get mad, I turn green. My eyes turn red. What time I came in off my high left